Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. I was not planning on having a book haul in the month of October, and yet here I am. I have 25 books to haul this month. What? 24, I think, actually. I have been having a lot of fun on Pango, which, if you're not familiar with, Pango is a online store, an app where sellers, readers can post their books for sale and other buyers, readers can purchase them. So I, a couple weeks ago, posted a huge unhaul, and almost all of those books went for sale on Pango, and many of you have bought them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The fun thing is that I can then use those credits, or Pango bucks, they call them, to purchase new books, which about half of the books I have to show you today are from Pango. So much for clearing my shelves. I've just now refilled them. A couple of them are Newbery books that I already mentioned before, that I came home from my trip in Wisconsin and bought the rest of the Newberries that I need, except for one. So I have a few more Newberries to show you. Then I have like my book of the month from October. I have a few books that were sent to me and some books that I ordered off my anticipated reads list from a bookshop in England. What? So let's just jump right in. I'm going to start with the books that were sent to me because that's so kind of you. Every time a book comes for me in the mail that I didn't get myself, it's so humbling and exciting, and oh, it just warms my heart. It's just so exciting, especially when the packaging says that it came from Australia. What? Lee, my dear subscriber and friend and patron, sent me Exiles by Jane Harper, which is her newest book that I don't even think is out in the United States yet, or coming out for a while, but it's out in Australia. She is an Australian author, and I have read now maybe everything that she's written so far. I want to see if there's a list in here. I've read The Dry, Force of Nature, The Lost Man, and The Survivor. So I've read all 4 of her other books. This is her 5th. I'm very excited. And Lee, my dear friend, wrote a lovely little note from Australia and sent it to me. I'm so excited. So this one is going to be another story where Aaron Falk is the detective. He was in The Dry and Force of Nature, and he's going to be in this one again. At a busy festival site on a warm spring night, so I'll have to save this for spring, a baby lies alone in her pram, her mother having vanished into the crowds. A year on, Kim Gillespie's absence casts a long shadow as her friends and loved ones gather deep in the heart of South Australian wine country to welcome a new addition to the family. Aaron Falk, a federal investigator, is joining the celebrations, but as he soaks up life in the lush valley, he begins to suspect this tight-knit group may be more fractured than it seems. As hidden truths slowly emerge, Falk faces the darkest of questions. I'm very excited. Jane Harper is a master at atmosphere. So springtime, which is fall here, so it's like in this time of year, actually, which is probably why it came out in Australia now, right? Because it's their springtime now. But anyways, she's a master at atmosphere. I'm totally down to read another book by her. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Lee. Oh, made my day. Oh, we're gonna see if I can stack them around there. Another book that was sent to me that I did mention in one of my vlogs recently is The Sun Sister by Lucinda Riley. This was sent to me by the lovely Amber at Books and Beaches. Thank you so much. I got to meet her in person in our Wisconsin trip, and she's just the loveliest. And then she sent us all a book, which was so sweet. This is book 6 in the 7 Sisters series. Book 6 or book 7? I forget. Thank you. Amber, that's so nice of you. And then this box came the other day from Cindy. Cindy says, thanks for all you do on your channel. I already opened it, so it's kind of cheating to show the box because I did already look at these, but whatever. It is what it is. Cindy sent me, oh my word, one of my anticipated reads, The Premonition of Withers Farms, at Withers Farms. This is Jamie Jo Wright's newest book. I feel like this needs to stay out on my like October, November TBR, because this feels like the right time of year to read this. Historical fiction along with suspense. She's a Christian author. Very, very excited to read another book by her. Very, very excited. Oh boy. And then also she sent me The Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. KIPP by Sarah Brunswald. which has been making the rounds on Christian booktubers channels, and everybody seems to love it. I don't even really know what it's about, but everybody just raves and raves and raves about it. It's going to be the story of a young reporter who gets sent to go write the obituary of a woman who's not dead yet, or something along those lines. And it looks like she's thinking that this woman kind of has led an unremarkable life, but then as she gets to know her, she realizes that's not quite the case. I love when there's an elderly protagonist, and I think Mrs. KIPP is going to be a lot of fun to read about, but I think it's going to be poignant, and I believe it's probably going to make me cry too. So thank you, Cindy. Holy moly, what a fun treat to receive your box in the mail. Such a treat. I did get 3 books from Book of the Month this time, and if you have been on any of my lives, I think I talked about these in a live recently, but my choice for the month was this YA, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Kato. Look at that cover. It's stunning, and I believe it's set in Syria. Yeah, and that's all I needed to know. Like, a beautiful cover set in Syria, I'm down. For some reason, I just really love books set in the Middle East. It's such a different culture from what we know here in the West, and I love learning about it. We're going to follow Salama Kassab, who is a pharmacy student when the cries for freedom broke out in Syria. She still had her parents and her big brother. She still had her home and an average teenager's life. And now she volunteers at a hospital helping the wounded who flood through the doors daily. Secretly, though, she's desperate to find a way out of her beloved country before her best friend and sister-in-law Layla gives birth. As her desperation grows, her PTSD takes physical shape in the form of a companion, Cough, who haunts her every move. Interesting. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, but I am really excited for that one. And I haven't seen any reviews of this one yet. So I'm very curious if you've read this or you know anyone who read it. What have they said about it? I'm very interested. But then I did choose 2 add-ons this month as well. Thank you for the credits. Those of you who use my link down in the description and signed up for Book of the Month, you get a discounted month, your first month, but also I get a credit, which allows me to then get extra books. So I did get 2 extra books this month. The first one I chose is The Most Likely Club by Alyssa Friedland. And this is like a group of women who were friends in high school come back to a high school reunion. And it has a lot of 90s nostalgia, which is when I was in high school. So I just feel like that sounded like a lot of fun to me. And then Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. I've just heard so much about lately. It's about a group of 60-year-old women who become vigilantes, and then they go on a cruise or something for their last hit or something, and then realize that there's somebody somebody has taken a hit out on them. And so they're trying to avoid being killed while doing their last job or something along those lines. I just feel like it sounds like a lot of fun, kind of a lighthearted murder mystery. And I love those. I love those. So yay to my new Book of the Month books. I will next show you the 4 books that I ordered from Blackwell's. Blackwell's is a bookshop in England. I don't know if it's only in London or if it's a chain. I honestly don't know, but I do know that they have a good website and that it's free shipping. So when I saw that the cover of one of these was so different in England to here, I wanted the UK version. And also one of them, this first one, only comes out in the UK. I didn't realize it was not going to be a US release until later. So I did want to grab The House of Lost Wives. I think this is the one that's a UK only release for now. This is by Rebecca Hardy. And this was on all the first 3 of these were on my anticipated reads list for the last quarter of the year. In this one, we have a younger sister. Yes, Lizzie is the younger sister of Esme. Esme had been married to a man and then dies, and then she's determined to find out what happened. And it turns out 4 of his last wives have passed away. So is there something sinister going on? Lizzie is determined to find out. It's set in 1813, so it's historical as well. And that mystery element, I'm just really excited for that. I also picked up this Godmersham Park by Jill Hornby. I think this is the one where the cover in the US is going to be different, and I just love this one. I love that Nigella Lawson, isn't she a chef? blurbs it on the front. So envious of anyone yet to read this. A triumph. Fun. This was a historical based on a true story, a wonderfully original and emotionally complex novel set in 1804, following governess Anne Sharp and her friendship with Henry and Jane Austen. Oh yeah, that's right. She ends up being a governess for one of the Austens, not Jane, but Jane's brother Henry. Or not Henry, because I think she ends up falling in love with Henry. Anyways, she becomes connected to the Austen family. It's based on a true story, and I love anything Austen related, and I love this cover. This might have to be on my Historathon TBR. The third one that was on my anticipated reads list was the Whalebone Theater, and again, I picked this because I wanted this cover and not the US cover. Maybe this was the one. I don't remember now that I think about it. I'm just really excited about all of these. This is by Joanna Quinn. It's another historical fiction. This one's going to have World War II tie-ins, but we follow these kids when they're young. They find this whale bone exoskeleton, this skeleton of the whale washed up on shore. And with the help of their nanny or governess or something, they create this theater inside the skeleton. They're supposed to report it to the king, whatever. They don't. They decide to turn it into a theater. This acting and play acting that they do when they're kids turns into helping them be spies during World War II or World War I. I forget. I'm just intrigued by this whole idea. It's way chunkier than I thought it would be, but the cover is gorgeous, and I'm very, very interested. Very interested in this one as well, obviously. I bought it from England. And finally, because I was, not finally of all, but finally from Blackwell's, because I was purchasing books from England, I just saw this pop up as like a option or when I was browsing the website. This is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Celebration, 70 years from 1952 to 2022. And I just thought it would be appropriate and interesting to purchase a book about the Queen. I haven't read any kind of biographies or anything about her. Only other than like watching The Crown, which I'm not even up to date with. But this is just filled with photographs, and it's just a celebration of her platinum. What is that? 70 years as queen? Yeah, 70 years. That's amazing. It's just going to have like a lot of beautiful pictures. It separates it by decades. So you kind of go like a short overview. Obviously, it's not very long, so it's not going to be very in-depth or anything, but I just thought that would be a cool addition to my Blackwell's order. So that was really fun to be receiving books from England. And now for the Pango books stack. I will start with the 3 more Newbery books that I have. And so this now completes, other than one, that Daniel Boone, that elusive Daniel Boone. It's for sale right now on Pango for $65. I think I found it somewhere else for $25, and I may just buy it for that. I forget where that was. Thrift Books? So, some of you helped me research it and told me in the comments last time I talked about it. I haven't like pushed the official purchase button on that Daniel Boone book. But anyways, I have 3 others that I needed, and they are Miss Hickory by Carolyn Sherwin Bailey. This is the Newbery winner in 1946. Nope, 47 it would have been, because it published in 46. So there's Miss Hickory. I have Tales from Silver Lands by Charles J. Finger. And this one is published in 2017, but it's originally published in 1926. So this was the 1927 winner. Kind of interesting. And then Waterless Mountain by Laura Adams Armour. And this one is from 1932, the winner in 1932. So there you have it, the last of my Newberys. These will be joining the rest, which are way up on the top of that shelf. I'll put them in their spots, and someday I'll show you that whole shelf. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited that I have all but one. Now I need to get to reading them. That's going to be one of my goals for next year for sure, is to have a couple. I do one weekend in March. That's like a Newbery only weekend for middle grade March, but I think I need to do that a couple times a year to make some more progress on those Newberys. All right, I also purchased The Yellow Wife by Sadiqa Johnson from Pango. This will get read very soon because it was a patron pick. I have a small, oh, you can't see it. It's behind, it's right over there. Down at the bottom over there is a small stack of books that have been patron picks that I haven't yet read. This is going right on that stack, so it stays out, and I know that I need to read it soon. I'm excited to read this because Sadiqa Johnson is also a local author for me. She is from the Richmond area, I believe. And this is one woman's captivating tale of survival in the most notorious slave prison of the antebellum South. Yikes. I've heard very good things about this one. Amber, who sent me the Seven Sisters book, she talked about this book in our virtual reading retreat, Bad Luck Bridesmaid by Ellison Rose Greenberg. And for some reason, it just never left my head. So I'm like, well, maybe just get it from Pango for a couple bucks. So I did. This is a rom-com about a bridesmaid. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Story of my life. So thanks, Amber, for that recommendation. Grabbed that for a fun read when I'm ready for one. I picked up a middle grade Leilani of the Distant Sea by Erin Entrada Kelly. I did not love, she wrote a Newbery winner, Hello Universe, and I didn't love it, but I am excited about this one. This is a bit of a fantasy about a young girl whose mom hurts herself, pricks her finger, and falls ill, and then 12-year-old Leilani has to leave her home to find the riches of this mountain that's way to the north in order to help save her mother. But generations of men and boys have died on the same quest. How can an ordinary girl survive the epic tests of the archipelago? Archipelago? Archipelago. How do you say that word? Archipelago? Archipelago. Whatever. So it's a little bit of a fantasy, and I'm really excited. I love the cover. And I always am looking for more fun middle grade books to read. I got another Christian fiction, The Fifth Avenue Story Society by Rachel Hauck. She's a Christian fiction author that I do really enjoy, and I want to go to that shop. In this one, we're going to follow 5 different New Yorkers who receive this kind of strange invitation to join the Fifth Avenue Story Society. And through it, it's going to impact and change the direction that their lives were taken. So I'm excited about that. Sounds like a little bit of a found family type of a situation. Very cool. Another middle grade that's been on my want to read list on Goodreads for a really long time. It might have been the oldest book on my want to read list. I think this is from our first middle grade March. Katie wanted to read this or did read it, and I wanted to read it since then. It's The Bone Sparrow by Xana Fralin. And I think this is a refugee story set in Australia. Yeah. Subi is a refugee. He was born in an Australian permanent detention center after his mother and sister fled the violence of a distant homeland. And the center is the only world that he knows. Oh, look at the end pages are a map there too. So very cool. A refugee story set in Australia. I'm down for that. I hope it's good. It sounds like it's going to be amazing. This is a really tall book. It's taller than a normal paperback. Ellie and the Heartmaker is by Hazel Pryor. The person I bought this from on Pango watches my channel. So Valerie, thank you. I will link her shop down below. Ellie and the Heartmaker is about a young woman named Ellie who is having a rough time in her marriage and in her life. And she, on her way home, one day encounters this barn of this man, what's his name? Dan, who kind of lives a solitary life creating harps in his barn. And they start a friendship. After their first conversation, he gifts her a harp. She keeps it there in his barn and starts taking lessons from him. I don't know. The tagline on the front here says, sometimes it takes a chance encounter to show you what your life can be. So I love music in books, and I think that's what drew me to this. And I think I must have heard somebody talk about it at one point because it was on my want to read list on Goodreads. Clearly one day I went through my want to read list and just started looking for these books on Pango and found a bunch of them, which is fun. I picked up this. I think it's so beautiful. The complete stories of Flannery O'Connor. So this is a chunker, a big, massive book of short stories by Flannery O'Connor. I have been wanting to dabble in short stories. I think it's going to be a goal of mine for next year, just to switch things up a bit. And I've heard other people sing her praises, Flannery O'Connor. Honestly, I don't know that I've read anything by her, but I thought this was gorgeous. I found it for cheap on Pango, and I want to read more short stories. So it was a win-win-win. We'll see. Have any of you read Flannery O'Connor? Do you think I'm going to like her or not? And finally, I have 3 more that are nonfiction, and I'm really excited about these. First of all, I have A Simplified Life by Emily Lay. This is just kind of it's just what it talks about. A book that helps you clear clutter. Oh my word, that's a tongue twister. Clear the clutter once and for all. Simplified demands on your time, energy, resources. This is always a struggle of mine. Even though I have a lot of time, I'm thankful that at this point in life I have a lot of time. I'm very busy, but I feel like I have a lot of downtime too. But I also feel like I have a lot of clutter. Not I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about what's on the other side of the camera that you can't see. I don't always do well with being as simplified as I might like to be. I go down holes on YouTube of watching tiny house living type of channels and videos. And there's something about it that's so intriguing to me and appealing as well. So maybe a book like this might help me. Not that I think I'm ever going to live in a tiny house, but something like this might help me be inspired to clear some of the clutter, both physical, mental, emotional, time, all that stuff. I picked up the library book by Susan Orlean. On the morning of April 29th, 1986, a disastrous fire broke out in the Los Angeles Public Library. By the time it was extinguished, the fire had destroyed or damaged more than 1 million books. Over 30 years later, the mystery remains. Did someone intentionally set fire to the library? And if so, who? Yikes. That sounds like it's going to be very good. Just a story about the LA library and the fire that happened there and the mystery that surrounds that event. I've heard that this is very good and I'm intrigued. Definitely intrigued. And finally, I have another book that's set in Syria. It's actually not set in Syria. It's a nonfiction by Wendy Perlman, and it's Voices from Syria. It's a collection of 8 kind of essays or stories from the perspective of people who are in Syria or who had to flee from Syria, refugees. In 2011, against the backdrop of the wave of demonstrations known as the Arab Spring, millions of Syrians took to the streets demanding freedom and dignity. The government's ferocious response and the refusal of the demonstrators to back down sparked a brutal war that escalated into the worst humanitarian catastrophe of our times, including the deaths of hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children, incalculable destruction, and the flight of millions of Syrians from their homeland. One of my brothers who lives in Turkey is very close to the Syrian border, and part of why he went over there was to work with Syrian refugees and learn their stories and potentially write them someday, which is like, that's what this book is. Voices from Syria, voices of people who had to flee their country. And I'm just really excited to read that. And I think it's going to be very poignant and heartbreaking. Maybe it'll have to go on my nonfiction November TBR. We'll see. But that is it. I am not going to try to hold those up because look, they fill the whole shelf almost. Lots of books that have come into my house in October. The thing is, all of them were purchased in September or using Pango books. I didn't actually use my own monies in October. So can I still count it as a no-buy month? I mean, I can do what I want. It's my channel. That's a big haul for a no-buy month, but I didn't spend any money in October. So potentially, I don't know if that's the spirit of the goal, but whatever, it is what it is. I would love to talk with you about these books or about anything else you guys want to talk about. You know, I love always talking with you down in the comments. I would love to hear if you've read any of these or if any of them are on your radar as well. Let's chat. I love chatting with you in the comments. I already said that, but it's true. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. It always means so much to me that you spend your time watching my channel and commenting and engaging with me in some way. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.